Hey, what's going on, Wealthy Legacy Journeyers? Welcome back to another episode of the Wealthy Legacy Journey. Man, it's been crazy that it has been 2 months that have passed since I put out the last episode of the show, and I'm really excited to give you guys all of the updates, but I am also going to keep it as best as I can, short and sweet. So let's start off on the real estate side with AmbitionX Real Estate since that last episode with the new beginnings in that, what is it that we have done? What's been the focuses, all that kind of stuff. So, I'll start with where we're at right now. We now have two agents officially newly recruited into the brokerage. All of the legal stuff is set up. All of our brokerage docs are put together so people can sign everything and officially transfer over inside of TREC, which is the Texas Real Estate Commissions. The LLC, the legal entities there. It's been approved by TREC, all that kind of great stuff. So there's a lot of stuff on just that kind of like administrative legal side that has been taken care of, which is fantastic. And then also, to be able to have the two agents recruited, we've got probably 2 to 3 more that are going to be coming in this week. And we're really working on beefing up the sales side. I can't remember if I explained it all in the last episode, but essentially, inside of the brokerage, we have the brokerage level, and then we have a team model, and we call it PSL. It's our PSL team-based model, stands for purchase, sell, leads. Purchase is pulling properties into our ecosystem. They're like those investment type properties, right? So our purchase teams, they're essentially our acquisition teams. And then we have our sell team, which is Dispo. Dispo is very often related to off-market selling. We don't actually do a ton of that. We do a lot of selling on the MLS. So essentially, they're just listing agents that are listing all of this inventory that we've brought in-house. Now we're turning around, we're selling as is, we're selling them as a flip, anything like that. And then finally, we have L that stands for leads, and those are just those traditional buyer and seller leads that come across our desk that we can then pass out to the agents. Now, I'll be 100% honest with you. We're not doing anything on the lead side right now. The whole focus has been the sell team, building that out, beefing it out, and kind of, that whole process. So the fact that we have all of the legal things together, and I think even since the last time that I talked with you guys about 2 months ago, we built out the entire vision for the brokerage and where we're going to go over the next 7 years specifically. So as you guys remember, one of the big things that I talk about when you set goals is you have to understand first, what's your big goal and what is it going to take exactly to like achieve that. And you have to really clarify what that goal is, everything, the numbers, where you're going to be at, what size your team is going to be. You really have to create that mental picture of what is it going to take, in my mind, for what I believe, in order to get to that goal. This is a really big goal. We're going for $1 billion goal. And so obviously this is way bigger of a goal than anybody I know personally has achieved. And it may twist and turn along the way, but I'm going to create the best vision that I know how to, based on what I've seen and what I've learned. Then we have to evaluate, well, where are we at right now in relationship to that goal? And then what is it going to take each step of the way as we scale up with an exponential growth curve? One of the things that I've been telling the team a lot, and I've been trying to get a part of more of my vocabulary, is really understanding the power of these exponential growth curves in the sense of, that first step of the growth needs to be about 10% of the growth. The second step needs to be about 20%. Then the third step should be about another additional 30%. And then that fourth step can be the final 40%. Instead of trying to take it in 25% chunks, or even worse, trying to conquer a third of it right out of the gate, I want to break really that progression up kind of into four big stages, right? Because 10 plus 20 plus 30 plus 40 is equal to 100. And then you create this growth curve that starts off this slow growth, and then boom, it starts going exponential, right? And so, for example, the goal this year is just to get 40 agents in the office. But even if you break that down, the goal is to bring in 5 new agents by the end, or actually, no, it was 4 new agents by the end of the first quarter, right? And so, 4 out of 40, that's only 10% of our goal as far as new agents go. That will put us at a total of 10 agents in the office. But that is kind of this slow progression because we understand we have to get our marketing up off the ground. We have to start building a brand and a name. We got to get our brokerage up. But we've been doing everything that we can. I mean, there's been late nights, there's been midnights, there's been early mornings, there's been a lot of stuff that we've been pushing and doing in order to see this goal come into reality. But now, as we finish out March, it's currently March 17th. When we finish out this month, we'll be at the end of the first quarter of 2025. Then the goal for next quarter is essentially have at least 8 agents on board. Now, it looks like we might actually hit 5 agents by the end of this first quarter, which is fantastic. And that would actually put us a little bit ahead of our goals, but we didn't set our goal right at the gate of like, oh, we want to do 10 in the first quarter because it's a massive goal. So kind of one of the other places that we're at right now, as we built that brokerage model, actually one of the books that I consulted, I'll show you guys, because it's always good to consult other resources. And this is The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. Now, this was written in the early 2000s. And so you have to take into perspective what in here is a strategy and what in here is a principle. And what do I mean by that? Well, a principle is something that is timeless. And this is something that I learned from Myron Golden. And I also learned this from Russell Brunson, is that there's certain things about business and marketing and human psychology and behavior that are just they withstand the test of time, right? For example, maybe the way that you could set up like the governmental system of an office today would be the same way that you could set up a governmental office 100 years ago, where you have somebody reports to somebody and then they report to somebody else. And typically, as you go up the food chain, there's more experience, there's more wisdom, there's more knowledge, and so that way, as a problem gets more complex and moves its way up the food chain, it can be taken care of accordingly. And then, they also have to take on a higher level of responsibility. So immediately in my mind, when I say that, I even think of going all the way back to like the Old Testament, right? When Moses' father-in-law challenged him to not be the only judge of the Israelites nation. He said, hey, you should set up these tiered systems where it's like there's kind of another level of people that take care of, I think it was like hundreds, like they're over like 1,000 people or something like that. And then there was another level, I think like hundreds of like 100 people, that they were under or was under them. And then there was another one where it was like 10 people that were under them, right? And so it's like as these situations progress and get more complicated, they can move up that judicial system that they were setting in order to go up into that higher level of wisdom and thinking and responsibility for the overall structure of whatever it is that you're governing. So we have the same thing for our office. Now, going back to this, what was the principles? What's the strategies? Well, there's certain things around like mailers and, reaching out to people. The principle in it is it's important to reach out to people all the time. But the strategy, maybe the way that you exactly reach out to them might have changed over the last 20 years. They also talk about how to set up an office structure. And as I looked at that, of what the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, office structure looked like, I honestly took tons of those notes and I said, okay, I'm going to use that as a backbone for how we set up the PSL team-based model. Now, in a traditional office, you're dealing with buyers and sellers, but in the sense of like you're listing all their properties. They don't have a purchase team. They're not typically like an acquisitions, like agent investment kind of thing in play there. So it's like I had to somewhat make it my own, but we use that to develop, here's what the framework looks like. So currently right now, we have our purchase team, our sell team, and our leads team. Leads team we're not even touching. Purchase team's running pretty good right now as far as like what was already there. And so I'm not even touching any of that right now. The biggest bottleneck was on the sell team. So obviously that's where I focus the majority of my attention. But what do I do with that? We have to create an office structure system. So now we have it set up where we are looking for the sell team lead. We have a sell team assistant in place right now. But my goal is by August, which is actually when I go out of town for a beach vacation, have a purchase team lead, have a sell team lead. And it would be amazing if we could also have a leads team lead and an admin, kind of team lead on that side as well. But for sure, those. We've also now, over the last, couple of weeks, we've gotten some transaction coordinators in place, still trying to define and figure out what those roles are. But really the goal was when I came in February is, can I take 90 days and really clear up a lot of the issues that we were having in the sell team and the organization and the structure. And so this might actually be cool for anybody who's watching, and I apologize because my office is a little bit messy, but I'm going to turn my laptop here for just a second. Okay, so you can kind of maybe see those. And honestly, you know what I might do is I might just go take them. Well, I hate to take them off the wall. So I'll tell you what I have over there. I'll just look at it. So we have our example of our listing timeline, right? And then we also did I put together what it looks like if we were going to organize the responsibilities of Ambition Group versus AmbitionX Real Estate as the brokerage, and who handles what, and how that dialogue and that communication needs to go up and down the chain of command and sideways between the two companies. A lot of the Ambition Group stuff was there, but obviously there wasn't really anything for the AmbitionX real estate side. And then we have our onboarding sell agent timeline. I call that a success path, right? So one of my goals is how do I make it hard for people to fail, easy for people to succeed? So one of Nathan's big goals is creating opportunities for everyone to reach their fullest potential. With that, I want to, once as people now go, hey, here's what fullest potential looks like for me, I want to put success paths in place to make it easy for them to achieve those goals or hard for them to fail. And now part of that is evaluating those goals fairly and saying, here's what's probably possible, here's probably what's not possible. And we definitely do that. But then from there, once we say, yes, this is possible, now we start looking at how are we going to achieve that? How are we going to help that agent achieve their biggest goals yet in life and in real estate and in their real estate business? We also have our agent onboarding SOP, and that was something I just created because every time an agent came in the door, it was like, okay, this is great, but what's the tangible process that it's going to take in order for me to get onboarding? Now, something that I learned from Russell Brunson, that's a common sales, analogy that's like thrown around or just verbiage, is a confused mind always says no. And so in that, I'm thinking, okay, for new agents that are coming on board, if a confused mind always says no, they're never going to be able to want to jump into the team if it's confusing about what that success path looks like, how they get onboarded, what they're supposed to be doing. So I tried to make that really, really streamlined. So now it's, hey, you come in on the day that you come in to register, we're already going to have a property ready to go for you inside of Trello. So you literally come in, you fill out the Google Docs, you fill out all of the brokerage docs and all that kind of stuff. We get a team photo as like a woohoo, congratulations, you're part of the brokerage. Oh, you also move your license underneath our brokerage inside of Trek. And then the next stage is granting access. So I get everybody their Ambition. It literally steps step by step on there. I get them their at AmbitionXRE email. I share our SOP directory with them so they have things organized. They know where to find some information. And then I give them access to Slack, which is our communication channel that we use for most of our dialogue back and forth. Then they switch off to our assistant sell team lead, Artie, who gets them spun up on Trello, gets them their first property assigned, kind of gives them a walkthrough of what that process looks like each and every week and what they can do. So gets them assigned, get that lead. The agent moves that to agent received, understanding all the stages within our Kanban view inside of Trello. And so that's the two main places that we communicate, right? They might receive an email if it's like a global communication that people might need to refer back to, or it's like a certain task, but it doesn't have like an exact place. Slack is really kind of more also for like general communication. It basically replaces the function of texting, but it keeps the work and the personal stuff separate, and can it kind of just be like a central place for most of that communication. And then Trello, anything that's specific to that project, that property, always needs to go in the card so we can keep track of it. And then from there, figuring out how many hours they're planning to work on real estate inside of PSL, all that kind of stuff, establishing expectations, and then we get that first goal meeting set. So it's now very clear if you come to sign on, here's exactly what's going to happen at the day, like at our sign up day and our registration day. And then I also have our agent onboarding timeline that really spells out here's what the next 90 days are going to look like as you get spun up on the sell team underneath the PSL team-based model. We also have our one-page, brokerage fee breakdown and all that kind of good stuff. And so we're finally starting to gain that organization, that clarity. So now here we are. Really we kicked it off, getting stuff organized beginning of February. So we're about 6 weeks into that, what my hope was a 12-week process. And I definitely think we're on track to really have a substantial system together by the end of that 12 weeks. We are currently looking for a sell team lead who can basically they're a veteran of the game. They don't really have a team of their own, but they're able to coach and mentor these agents along their path as they continue to grow as listing agents. This would be somebody who's really mastered their craft, and now they want to pour back into kind of that next generation, but they don't want to build their own team. So we've got the team there, we've got the properties there, we've got the pipeline there, but we just need those gray hairs to really be able to teach the team exactly what it looks like to create amazing listings. And then from there, my goal is to then jump over to the purchase team and build the exact same thing to where we have a success path. We have an onboarding, like a day of onboarding game plan. We've got, examples of exactly what it looks like to do the different things on the purchase team. And then obviously then we can also do the same thing on the leads team. So first focus with sell team. That's the first 3 months was my kind of vision. It was basically the first quarter that we were really attacking it. The second quarter that we're really attacking. So my goal is, basically February, March, April, sell team. May, June, July is the purchase team. And then August, we go out of town for a beach trip. So I probably won't attack anything new there. And then you have September, October, November that we really start then now looking at the leads team. And then hopefully we can actually pull the leads team from a lot of the things we're doing on the sell team. So my hope is, if I'm being honest, that the leads team only really takes about 60 days to build that organization, that process out. So looking at September, October, and then I can finalize everything on the admin team in November, December. And so by the time we get to the end of 2025, now, this is just for one office. We've got our purchase team, our sell team, our leads team, and our administrative team. And then from there, my goal is somewhere between probably October of 2025 to February, which is the 1 year mark of 2026. We can now promote somebody to an office manager, and the Fort Worth office of AmbitionX Real Estate is completely self-sustaining, completely self-organized, completely self-running. And now the question that we start to ask ourselves is, how do we copy and paste this process over to the next office? So our goal from there would be North Dallas, then Denton, and then if the DFW metro goes well, we'll start spreading out to Austin, Houston, San Antonio. And if the rest of those Texas offices start to do really well, then we can spread outside of Texas. And our growth path kind of gets more and more aggressive over time, right? It's like we're going to spend most of 2026 focusing on just establishing in the Dallas office, most of 2027 just establishing Denton. And then we get that process down. It's like, okay, maybe now we can start pumping them out every 6 months. And then after that, maybe every 3 months. And we can just start growing more and more because we have that culture, because we have a team there that's wanting to lead and grow. And again, that's just that exponential growth curve. I can't sit here and say, oh, well, if we figure out this process in, oh, we can build an entire office from the ground up in 3 months, and then we can start launching new offices every 3 months. Like, it's too fast. And again, if we come to a place where it's like, that's probably not possible, well, at least we set the goal at what I felt like was a healthy pace, and then we can kind of adjust and pivot accordingly as needed. So that's where we're at on all of the things for AmbitionX Real Estate. I think we're going to exceed our goal for recruiting Q1. We've gotten pretty much all of my goals that I had for the sell team done Q1. Again, there's still a lot of organization happening. There's still a lot of like question marks, and that's kind of what we have the people now, and we just really got to figure out the processes of who's responsible for what. Where does the buck stop for all these different tasks that are happening? And we're going to get some clarity on that here in the next couple of weeks. Get that sell team lead in place to really help mentor the team, and then we can start growing, continue growing out the sell team from there. As far as like Hudson goes, Hudson's still on the market, but it's in one of these sell agents' hands. And so I'm hoping that we can get that one sold sooner than later, because that would be fantastic. And, it's just fun to be a part of this project. I have learned a lot in the sense of, what it's like to really work with business partners. And, everything else that I've always done has been solo. And so I've had a lot of freedoms. But this I felt like had a strategic advantage in the sense of there's already kind of established thing going, and there's established business partners. And so that's what I really liked about it. But one of the things that I think I'm most excited about is to see that, over the last 60 days, I haven't had to do a ton of learning. It's just been implementing. So, stepping into the entrepreneurial world back in 2018, now we're looking at 2025. So, pushing I think we're like about 6.5 years as an entrepreneur now at this point, learning so much different stuff, going to all sorts of different realms for learning and educating my stuff. To see all that stuff, I'm not really having to learn right now as much as I am just implementing on the knowledge that I've learned over the past like 6.5 years, and just aggressively implementing and learning, or no, so implementing and applying what I've learned right now as we're within the season. So, really enjoying that growth. And, as we look into what does 2026 look like, I want to also be able to continue expanding that personal brand. So I don't want to give up on the Wealthy Legacy journey. I want to also, step into some small speaking roles to where I can start, growing that presence, growing that brand. I'll probably start going to some of the like mastermind kind of stuff, just so that I can get my name, my brand out there as well. And so that's kind of where I'm at on the real estate side is, establish this office, show that, kind of presence of authority of being able to do this thing, and then just start speaking on what is it that we did in order to create so much success so quickly. And then from there, it's just continuing to build the brand, continuing to build, my personal brand, the Wealthy Legacy Journey, AmbitionX Real Estate, and they all kind of churn on each other, right? So as I build my personal brand, it'll only build, maybe awareness and authority for AmbitionX Real Estate. And then as we build up AmbitionX Real Estate, it's only going to help me build, authority and presence for my personal brand. And so all those kind of coming together is great. Really one of the other things that I've been thinking about is like, how can we dominate social media, specifically Facebook? It's kind of one of the things when I was going through and I came across one of the reels from Alex Hormozy, and he talked about just dialing in and dominating one space. And so it's been like, okay, how do I post more? How do I get more active and aggressive as far as posting on social media? So that's been something else that I've been thinking about, trying to get more stuff out there, trying to just establish, hey, I'm Kendell Liden and I do real estate and I own AmbitionX Real Estate. And it's been interesting because I still trade some stocks on the side. I still do some other things. But it's like, how do I just continue to send out one consistent message? This is who I am. This is what I do. So I haven't been posting anything on stocks. I haven't been posting much of anything on the Wealthy Legacy Journey because right now I just want to be very clear. I don't want people to be confused. Again, a confused mind always says no. So if I'm posting about all these different things that I'm doing, one, I'm probably stretching my bandwidth too thin. Secondly, it's going to be confusing because like, wait, what does this guy do? Does he do real estate? Does he do stocks? Does he do this? Does he do that? You're like, whatever, So it's like, okay, let's dial it back, just focus on the one thing at a time. But with that said, I am still doing some stock stuff. It's been interesting. We've seen a big 10% pullback in the market. I started buying in kind of right about the 10% zone as we transferred some investments over from real estate to stocks. So that way, because I just haven't had any time to even think about real estate, unfortunately, as far as from an investment standpoint. And I had recently sold some puts that were going to, this is ChopX week. And so I had some puts sold that were going to expire this week. Typically Monday's an up day, and then it kind of dies over from there for the rest of the week. And so into this morning at near the open, I actually exited all of my sell to open puts that I had put on SPLG and BITO. BITO is a dividend play off that uses Bitcoin as an underlying asset, and then SPLG is essentially an equivalent of the S&P 500, SPY, VOO, that kind of stuff. And so it's just smaller, so that way I can afford to buy 100 lots and I can sell covered calls on it and things of that nature. So my goal was, if SPLG just got a little bit higher today, I was going to cover it up with some calls because I think it will probably roll over and die into the rest of the week. And so that way I can just collect the premium off of those covered calls. I also did remove all of my sell to open puts because I do think it's going to roll over and die. And to be honest with you, if the market continues to push down into maybe even a 10% or excuse me, 15% retracement from its previous 10% kind of low retracement area, I want to be able to buy it deeper. And so I do have some concerns with the way that all the EMAs are kind of stacked negatively. We just had the 8 EMAs cross under the 200. We might be looking at like a small little uh, what is it called? Like a small recession. Again, my cyclical stuff points to 2026 being the real big one that we're going to be going for, but I also don't want to be, caught unaware if I'm overextended and now I'm like stuck just holding it forever. The great part is what we're doing now is it's actually all of our own cash. I'm selling a lot of covered calls. Technically, I'm selling covered puts because I'm covering it with the capital I have sitting in my account. So I'm not too concerned about that, but I also don't want to buy too high if the market's going to give me a bigger discount. So right now my cost basis is a little over $66 because I've had 2 buy-ins, but I have an order now sitting out there for SPLG at like 64.30 and another one is 60 or no, 61. I think it's like 61.40, 61.30, something like that. Another one like 61.30, which would be like a full 15%. Now, if it drops further than that, I might even pull some money out of some other places in order to buy even deeper, which would be kind of cool. But I also want to be careful about how much I go, full leveraged up into these stocks. So most of our money is still sitting in land, and that Hudson play, honestly, that's where the big kind of chunk of our cash is. We still cash flow a little bit, but mainly right now we're trying to catch up on life expenses as we're kind of transitioning over. Just a quick update on Libby. She's kind of paused on the art front and all that kind of stuff because we've had so many moving parts with AmbitionX Real Estate. And really one of the big kind of goals with art was for her to be able to express kind of that side of herself, but really it was kind of to have a plan B in case plan A didn't work out. We're feeling pretty good about plan A. And so, really going, hey, I'm spending extra time than normal over here on AmbitionX Real Estate. So we didn't want her to be stretched trying to do a whole bunch of other stuff on the other side. Last thing I kind of want to say is don't forget, as we are going to close out March here in the next few weeks, pay yourself first. Make sure that you're cash flowing. Put that cash flow to work. Pay off the debt. Especially with what everybody's saying about potential turbulent times ahead. I'm so glad of the position that we're in. 2 years ago, we were in debt. We had more debt than we even have capital right now, but we were in debt. We were upside down. We were paying every month. And, since then, selling the truck, selling the house, paying off all of our debts, we now completely have, we own our life cash. Everything that we own is an asset. We don't have any liabilities at this point. We've got over six figures in assets altogether, and just excited to be able to continue accessing more and more of that to put it back into work and all that kind of great stuff. We're in a much better place than we were a couple years ago. And I feel very confident now that if the market was to correct, I can sustain growth and even take advantage of it, right? But if you're in a place where you're upside down, you're in that debt, you're not paying yourself, your finances are just totally out of whack. If the market comes in and growls at you, um, potentially you're going to be caught in a really bad spot, and you're going to have to make decisions that are really not in your best interest, because you have to act quickly instead of being able to act rationally. So don't forget to pay yourself first. Get your financial house in order. I would say you probably about have another year to do so. So make this year really count between March of 2025 and sometime between March of 2026 to maybe like October of 2026. I would want to be, completely in the clear. Unless, I'm planning, like I have a house and I'm planning to live here for a long time, but I wouldn't want to be, caught unexpected. Um, with all that said, guys, let's close out with our identity mantra here, and then we'll close out today's episode. So, I explore the unknown, I conquer new frontiers, my journey is powerful, and my wake is a wealthy legacy. If you can't tell, it's been like 2 months since I've said that, and my brain had a little forgetful moment there. But it's important that we remember that over and over. And as a reminder, guys, the way we define wealth here at the Wealth Legacy Journey is simply the ability to cover your monthly expenses without having to lift a finger. And the way we define legacy is leaving a long-lasting impact on others who come after you as they receive the fruit of your labor, whether that fruit be good or bad. So don't forget, plant good seeds, cultivate good trees, and you too can bear good fruit in your life. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, please subscribe. Really helps the algorithm. Don't forget to check out. We have some resources in the description of the video and the podcast and all that kind of stuff. And with all that said, guys, I should see you guys next week again if it doesn't get too crazy between now and then. Awesome hanging out with you guys. See you on the next episode. Bye.